Hello everyone. We're going to do a test drive of a car that I just recently purchased called the Radical SR8. I got this car yesterday, I think it was, when I bought the car along with a few other cars and tracks. As far as the car goes, I've already customized it a little bit using the standard templates that are supplied by iRacing. I bought the Dallara DW12 as well as the Ford GT. The Ford GT, I get a GT2 and a GT3 car with that. There it is, the Radical SR8 is what I have now. As you can see, there are quite a few different paint schemes and patterns you can use. You can customize the colors of each of the three different patterns by the color wheels here, as well as your numbers and such. But I use trading paints and a custom paint for them in game. I set the standard paint for people who use the game and don't have trading paints app running, so they see something other than just a plain white car. So it's a good idea to go ahead and do that. I do all of mine, pretty much purple front, white back for the standard templates that I use. There are others. I mean, there's lots of different ones you can use. I could use any one of these. As you can see, they have quite a few that you can pick from. And then, of course, you can change the colors of each of the different regions. And let's see here. I've made some changes, but I am not going to save them. Now let's see. It's time to check out some of the other stuff. Let's leave this page. Go to cars. Waiting for the cars to load. The cars that I have. We'll just do a little bit of a rundown on what the Radical SR8 actually has. The Radical SR8 is 380 horsepower, a RPA V8 2.6 liter. That's an older version of the motor. I believe they have a 405 horsepower RPE or something. I don't remember. I was looking on the website for the Radical car, and that's what they're coming out this year with. But it's a light car, 1,320 pounds with 380 horsepower. So we're looking at quite a bit of a get up and go car here. That is that. Let's go to test. All right, we want to test the Radical SR8. Let's go to Mid-Ohio. I've been running that track for the last week, so I am a little bit more familiar with it. Here we are in the test session with the Radical SR8. Let's take a look at the garage. The setup for the car, we've got tire pressures, chassis. Okay, there are a few extra options for chassis setup as opposed to the Spec Racer Ford, which I have been running. So there are going to be some changes and a bit of a learning curve for the setup. You get some standard setups. There's 4: baseline, high, low, medium, downforce. Let's high downforce. We'll load that. And now let's go ahead and do a test. Okay, this is a right-hand drive car. I have a mirror on the right, but I cannot see my left mirror. We are going to do a driver seating position change using a cam. During the last or one or two updates ago, they fixed it so that you could modify the camera position for the driver. You still had to have the camera inside the cockpit in a limited range, so you couldn't like make your camera, a third-person view camera or something like that for when you're driving the car. But you do have the ability to change things a little bit. If you're in test mode and you have your car up and you pause your replay, if you're in replay mode and you pause it with your car there, and then hit Control F12, yes, that's it, Control F12, it brings up your camera options. Let's see, step factor. Okay, let's see, we want our key step factor. Set this as low as it'll go. I have it at 0.050 so that each time I move the camera it moves the minimal amount. That way I can adjust it and fine tune it. Up here are, oh wait a minute, am I set for Cockpit View? Yes, Cockpit View. Make sure that this is set to cockpit when you do this. And what I want to do is modify the offsets for the X, Y, and Z and stuff positions to get it to where I want it to be exactly. Let's see. All right, the X position moves your seat forwards and backwards. And the Y moves me right and left. Okay, so what I want to do is get this to where I'm pretty much in the center and I can see both mirrors. Move my seat back as far as it'll go. Okay, the back is negative 0.135 is as far back as I can go. And that looks to be just about centered for my mirrors. All right, so once you've got your car about where you want it to be, it's time to go ahead and set your settings up and save them. Now, to save the car, it's pretty easy. You just click over here on Save, Car Cam. It'll save it in the directory for this car under your iRacing folder. And the advantage to this is that you can change the camera position to any car you have. So I don't have to sit in the center of my stock car and such. I could have each car have a little bit different seating position, and they can change and save and load automatically when I get in those cars. That's an advantage over using the standard key-binded seat position changes. Now let's see, I need to test this. and see how well it works. If I hit my space bar, this is what I will see. Of course, there's nothing in my mirrors yet because I'm in test mode, replay mode rather. But there will be something when I'm actually racing. And the dashboard is pretty well centered. So we will check this out and see how it goes. Well, here we are in the pits in the SR8. The mirrors look about right. I don't get to see everything in them. I may need to adjust the angles a little bit. Definitely need to adjust the angles a little bit. This one looks like it's looking off to the right too much, and this one's looking back at me. It's probably because it was set for somebody driving, sitting in the right-hand driving position. Well, let's take a lap around the track and see what we have.
2, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, I have the SoundShift app that I use to beep when I hit certain revs. Is at the default for the SR8 and is also giving me the gear names or numbers as I shift as well. I turned that off on my Spec Racer because I didn't need it.
3, 2.
Okay. Let's lock them up. I believe this car has 6 gears.
3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 4, 3. Three, 2.
The rear end likes to kick a little bit on this thing because it's the extra power. I am not going very fast. Couldn't go very fast even if I knew how to drive this thing.
3, 2.
I don't know the correct gears to be using for each of these turns. I'm playing it by ear right now.
5, 6, 5, 4, 3.
I can feel the rear kick a little bit when I get on the gas.
3.
So there is definitely a horsepower difference over the Spec Racer.
2.
Slippery there too.
4, 3.
I'm absolutely certain I'm in the wrong gears for these turns, as well as not going the right way through them.
4.
But it's the first time I've sat in this car, so play it by ear.
4, 3, 2.
Okay, not too bad. Slows down. Of course, I'm using a baseline setup, so it's not optimized for this track at all.
5,
We have a high downforce set, so
6, 5, 4, 3,
I should at least be getting enough downforce to keep the car on the track.
two, 3, 4, 3,
Yeah, it's going to take some getting used to.
2, 1.
All right, that was a couple of laps. Rather slow, probably. As a matter of fact, I know they are like 130. I think this thing can do like 120 or better here. So I'm definitely real slow. Since I think this thing can do like 118, 120 here. But that's a... Okay, getting some new tires. But anyway, that's that. £27, a little bit of wear. Only a few laps anyway, but that's a baseline setup run in the spec, no, not spec, the Radical. Let's, okay, here we are in chase mode instead of cockpit mode. As you can see, my helmet is on the right side, so even though the camera, my viewpoint was center, I am in actuality sitting on the right side in the car, locked up the brakes. Going around rather slow. A little bit of backfire from the gear changes. The paint job is plain. I have not done my custom paint job on here yet. I will do a trading paints job with GIMP and such later. That will take me a few days. If anybody else wants to learn how to do that, there are a lot of tutorials about how to use GIMP or Photoshop to customize the templates and get your own custom paint jobs for the cars and upload them to Trading Paints so that everybody else who's using that app can also see the car and the custom paint. Alright, for this lap, let's take a look at TV1. What the car looks like. the car and what it looks like and how it handles. All in all, it's a pretty decent car. A little bit squirrely. When I was driving it, there's a lot of power, so you've got to be gentle with the gas and the throttle in the turns, or you're going to spin the rear tires and lose control. Rear suspension, left front suspension. I guess a few close-ups there. Where is cockpit? Okay, back to cockpit view. That'll be it for the test of this car. Okay, here we are back at the website. I'm looking at the world records for the Radical SR8 at Mid-Ohio Sports Car course where we were just at. I was at 130 and I was going really slow because it looks like 116 is the best there. So I'm 14 seconds slower, but that was only after a few laps. I'll probably be able to get in the 120, 121, 122 range once I work with it and stuff. Thereabouts. But that's not so hard. The car didn't seem to be a lot different than the Spec Racer 4, just more power. So as far as this car goes, I think we're looking at a decent car. I would recommend that if you like sports race cars where you've got an open cockpit and where you can see around you, it would be the ticket. And if you want to be in the center, you can do that. I showed you how to move the camera. You could even set it to be a left-hand drive. They do have these vehicles as right-hand and left-hand drive built by the factory. I've even seen some that have been modified to be center drive. But probably the purists in iRacing will all say it should be right-hand drive and nothing but right-hand drive. But it will be up to you on how you do it. And you can use that camera trick for all your cars, so you can have each of your cars a little different. That way when you use the center seating position, when you switch to your GT3 car, you're not sitting in the center, you're sitting on the left side, and so on. That's the end of that. See you next time. I will do a testing of my other cars. I will do a testing of my other cars that I have, which is the Dallara DW12, the Ford GT. I'll wait till the GT3 version comes out because that's what I'll be driving mostly. Slightly different. It's slightly different, the Ford GT3 version, than this template. It's got a bigger wing. I believe the headlights are white instead of yellow. A few other cosmetic changes, and then of course the actual driving physics are different because it's a GT3 instead of a GT2. That's next time. See you then.